Good evening. It is 11 o'clock where I'm at. It might be 12 o'clock where you're at. Might be 10 o'clock where you're at. Depends on where in the world you're watching this and why in the world are you watching this. Tonight I'm here with Shadow. Let's see if anybody else pops up. Um, Other than that, we're gonna sit around, bullshit about gaming, maybe a little bit of politics. I'm gonna try to stay away from that because me and Shadow over there don't exactly, meld on some things, agree on others. Um, and yeah. So Shadow just got done with a game. Bright Seas, I think it's called.
Yeah, the Bright Sea campaign. Yep. The party just set back out on the high seas, and 2 weeks in, a drow dragon scouting party caught wind of their ship, and they took out one of the dragons. The other two didn't even bother to engage. They went back home to alert the Empire that something's coming.
Hey,
So, Hangar,
Hongo.
why don't you come join us, Hangar? If not, uh, I expect a call tomorrow. The usual shenanigans. I hope you're out of the
Shenanigans.
hospital, and if not, give the nurses a your usual treatment. Thank God, dude. Every time I hear you're in the hospital, we worry. Put you in our prayers, though. So yeah, that's probably best.
I feel like a switchboard, that conversation.
Uh-huh. So how's
So
Bruce's game?
I missed yesterday's game. Like I said, I had a couple graduations, things I family related. Then I had a retirement party to go to. But his game is fun. He's actually out of the Pathfinder module and is now running something else. We're playing the same characters, but it's fun. It's supposed to be a little bit more harder, a little bit more darker, a little bit more serious. But then you have us, so at the beginning of it, you get the Fellowship, and at the end of it, you get the Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, our good friend Raven, when once Squirrel Hermit sends me a copy of the Monty Python role playing game, we're gonna coerce Raven into running that for us because that's one of her favorite things in life. Justin's game of Morkborg on Saturday nights is fun. I'm playing a maniac. Uh, trying to channel my inner William Defoe when playing him.
Fair enough. From like William Defoe from what movie am I thinking? Mississippi Burning or William Defoe from Hunter? William Defoe from Spider Man?
Spider Man, Green Goblin. My character, we rolled up random Morkborg characters, and my character here he is right here. The little blurb about the character says, I'm a heretical priest, loudmouth, arrogant, resting maniac face. So it's like whenever I'm talking. Last night, my character spewed out the Gettysburg Address in the middle of combat for no reason, but it was actually appropriate, uh, kinda, to what was going on. We were fighting some undead parishioners and in a desecrated church. It was fun. He's a little rough around the edges, but you got to start somewhere, right? We all were a first time GM at one time or another, and
Oh yeah.
he didn't make my game tonight because he wasn't feeling well. So I hope he's feeling better and not coming down with anything like Jackie. I'm
This is
just really
Justin.
grateful that we didn't catch whatever it was because you know
Like,
this is technically Jackie's last summer vacation as a high school student, and you know how that is.
Lord.
Yeah. So we want to make the best of it. We have no idea what he's going to be doing when he graduates next year. Um,
Managing a strip club.
well, he's only going to be 18. He'll be 17 next month, so he won't even be
Oh,
18 when he graduates. So who knows?
I never quite understood how. All right, thanks. I'll eat in a little bit. Yes, please. Gotta love family.
That's what they
Um,
say.
but
That's what they say.
I like my family for the most part.
Me too. I just like saying things like that because I
I'm
didn't
supposed to be
really
the
have
honor
one
one.
growing up. So
Yeah, I get that. Let's see. Maggie just graduated eighth grade with, only really 6 months of actual proper school education. The rest of the other years were homeschooled. So that should be a pat on the back on anybody who tutored her because, you know,
yeah, yeah. Well, the summer between eighth and ninth grade is actually transformative. So watch out. I
what I already have a moody teenager. What more can happen?
You never know these days. I know for me it was a big deal. I went from my parents picking my clothes out to a whole new me, whole new wardrobe, whole new everything, whole new school, little chance to reinvent myself because our middle school transferred to a high school which was that absorbed two or three different other high schools, so there were a lot of new people and stuff like that. So she can do a lot of new things and meet a lot of new people and pick up a lot of bad habits. So just keep your eyes open, but be supportive and positive, and let her know it's only 4 years of high school. Even though they're really important years, they're not everything.
I have lucked out. For the most part, my daughter's somewhat like me. She doesn't like people.
that's that's not a good thing.
It is too.
No, you need other people. No man's an island, and the more people you have on your side, the easier everything else is.
Yeah, people say that, but it makes me wonder. I mean, realistically, I mean,
Try it sometime. You never know.
if I'm on an island, okay, let's see. If I'm on an island, I at least need a small library of books, movies, a working TV, of course, maybe a handful of video games. Can't say Playboy anymore because Playboy magazine is no longer in existence. They might have a digital thing, but digital is just having an old Playboy magazine in your hands a whole lot different than a mouse in your pecker. So it doesn't work the same. Um,
Oh my lord, I not a fan. Although I did have access to my old man's Playboy Penthouse and an occasional Hustler magazine in a room. It was supposed to be his den, but he never spent any time in there. It was just like the book depository, and I discovered those early on. I went, now I get it, because of course inside that library was the book you probably don't remember, but it was called Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask. And
oh, I've seen.
I had that read cover to cover several times over by the time I was 12. Um, I still
Let's
had
see.
questions. Just saying.
All right. Well, okay. So I got my entertainment kind of figured out. Library, movies, video games, old fashioned Playboys, because like I said, mouse in your one hand and pecker in your other is not exactly the same. Um, so what else? I'm
Food,
on beach.
water.
I'm on an island, so I already got my exercise workout. I'll go swimming every day. Swimming sounds amazing. Um, okay, so exercise, entertainment. All right. It's an
Food.
island. Let's say this island has a freshwater waterfall. It's paradise, whatever. So I got my fresh water. Now I just need food. Well, I like seafood.
No thanks.
Um, Maybe having a couple chickens would be nice. uh,
Yeah.
until one of them pisses me off and I'm down to one chicken. But that's all right. If I wait long enough, I might have baby chicks. So baby chicks will grow up into big chicks, and hopefully none of them piss me off. So I'll be good there. Seafood, eggs. I need carbs. I need carbs. Um, hmm, what can I use for carbs? Well, not the chickens because that's protein, but I'll work it out. I'll work it out.
Yeah. Well, good luck with no cheese.
Ooh, cheese. Now there's the problem.
Even if you got a couple of goats, at some point one of them is going to piss you off. Hopefully, it'll be the male. Otherwise, no cheese.
Well, the problem with cheese is you need vinegar. To make vinegar, you need you need grapes or apples, or it's a process. But yeah, so yeah, cheese is now out. Son of a bitch.
Hmm. Unless you got a couple of potatoes, in which case you got a couple of potatoes. You got endless potatoes.
Yeah, it
But
works for
then you need oil, and unless you want to use some sort of fish oil, that cuts out the fries and the hash browns and
ooh, hash browns. Oil. What can I use for oil? Ew, don't want to use fish oil. You're right. You don't want to use grape oil. I prefer olive oil, but I need an olive tree. So I have to have a couple olive trees. All right. Olive trees are easy. They kind of grow in the Mediterranean. That's kind of island, not really, but same, hemisphere.
you can get lucky.
Okay, so we got my entertainment, my exercise, some protein, some oil, some eggs for binders.
I'm saying
I
you
need
really need cows, dude. Cows and pigs without bacon and beef, is it really worth living? I mean, no more baby back ribs, no more bacon, no more
well,
pork chops,
technically
sausage, goat
definition of
sausage. No thanks.
technically the definition of bacon is pork. I am not going to argue that one. But I've had salmon bacon really quick, and I do understand the concept of curing one's meat to make bacon out of, because there's beef bacon, there's turkey bacon, which we don't really talk about in my household. There's this thing called salmon bacon, which is fucking outstanding on a BLT.
Yeah, again, where's the bread?
Well, that is a problem. Well, where's the tomatoes? I guess now I have to grow tomatoes. No one really
Take care,
needs a
Hungar.
lettuce.
Rest well.
No one really needs lettuce. I mean, most lettuce is just basically it's more of a fiber than really anything else. It's more water than anything else. Hmm. No bread. Well,
No biscuits, no bread, no toast.
see, all this thing is I'm trapped on an island. This has nothing to do with needing another person. This is just me trying to figure shit out. This is, the end of days. I'm the last poor bastard on earth. So either way, I have to figure this shit out by myself. Ideally, I'd rather be, I don't know, maybe
Now,
not
if
on the
that
island.
island was Catalina, you got all the bacon you could ever want. You got plenty of land, which means there's probably, some other products, but kicking everybody off Catalina is going to be a toughie.
I don't know. Just look at L.A. last night or the night before.
Yeah.
Um, be nice. I'm trying. Yeah. No, you're right. No man's an island. We do need other people. So tell you what. I don't need the Lakers. I don't need the L.A. Lakers. I will take the L.A. Lakers cheerleaders though, because for multiple different reasons. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Provided, you get the ones that aren't, playing for the other team.
Oh, then I have free entertainment.
Yeah, getting them to perform on demand, that's going to be toughy. Um, you have to build like a big bamboo square frame, you know, pretend it's a big screen.
Still beats a mouse in one hand and a pecker in the other.
Well, sounds like, there's a good chance that Pecker's going to end up there anyways.
As long as I
Oh
don't
my.
have the mouse in one hand, that's my only objection here.
Right.
I don't know. I'm tired. I'm being honored right now. I'm frustrated with
Is there
shit.
any other Connell?
No. I've been told, even on my sunniest days, I'm not exactly the funnest person to be around. So it makes me wonder what I'm like on my worst days.
Don't know. Never seen those.
Yeah. I don't know. I heard last year or the year before, there was a small island off of Italy called Sardinia, and they're willing to pay young men with a wife or without a wife to move over and marry one of their young women and repopulate the pool. That sounds like fun. Trap.
Could be.
If we were both young men.
Age is just a number. So I hear from uh, people. Well, I don't really hear that much anymore, but once upon a time,
Yeah, when you can get
cruising up
out,
on freaking 60, man.
I'm turning 42 in September, and I can't groan without I can't get out of bed without some kind of groan.
That's my father's noise.
Trying to
Anybody
get up.
remember that? Put it in the
Yeah,
chat. I doubt anybody remembers that show. I actually watched a video on that show back, why it fell apart. You can blame John Travolta for that one.
mm.
That's your first hint. The other thing is Gabe Kaplan was uh, just impossible to work with.
Welcome back, Carter. I've actually saw some reruns of that show.
We watched it, and then it disappeared, and so did his career. Other than gambling, he was on some of those early gambling shows. He was quite good at it, from what I hear. But yeah, I don't know. I was really young when we watched it, and you know, my dad was a big fan of it. But just about everybody in that show never went anywhere. It like killed their career, except Travolta and Marsha Strassman, I think was her name. She did a little bit of stuff here and there, but the Sweat Hogs, especially poor Horshack, could never get another job in Hollywood because he was typecast as that character. And apparently, they all had some talents, but not enough to carry him past that show, as far as I can tell.
There for a while, I always get that show mixed up with Head of the Class.
I never watched that, but I always look back on, I think it was Room 222 and the Mod Squad. All that forced diversity and whatnot. It goes all the way back to, the 60s and 70s. When it comes together naturally, I have no problem with it. But when it's like really obvious, it's like, but at the same time, I grew up in California and I had a lot of different friends from a lot of different backgrounds. But, it was literally this hobby that brought us all together. And, it was, it was cool, going over different people's houses and seeing different things, the way they all lived compared to the way, my home life was. So it was cool. It lasted through high school, and then we all went our own separate ways. And I never heard or saw most of them ever again. Which, you know,
Yeah, most of my high school friends joined up right after 9/11, and well, a lot of them didn't come back.
I can imagine. None of my uh, high school friends joined up, and some of us, stayed together and we made a band for a couple of years through college. But we were all of different age groups, so some were like one guy wasn't even in high school when we were friends; he was already out. Um, one or two were still in high school when I graduated, and things like that. But for the most part, by the time I was 21, they were all to the four winds.
Yeah, go
Hey,
forth and
Raven.
spread your seed.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I think about them, but I made through college, I made a whole bunch of new friends, and we stuck together for some of us, are still friends today. A couple of them have passed away. I lost a couple of friends last year. One of them was one of those guys, and sucks because I see his face on my Facebook Messenger, and even though he passed away, I still send him messages. And
Yeah, as much as social media drives me up the damn wall, it does give you the opportunities, especially Facebook, to find people that you haven't seen in decades.
yeah, I've had a few people reach out prior to the channel, but then I changed everything, and so those people have no clue about what I'm doing now, and I like to keep it that way at least until Jackie's 18 and stuff. Um, but yeah, it sucks, man. Most of my new friends are, my age and well younger. We just talked about that, Raven. We want to do it soon. I'm going to keep bugging him, but I'm only going to give him so much time before I do it myself. Just because I need to start watching the movies and catching up. It's amazing when we talk about movies, how many movies I missed growing up because I was doing stuff. You know,
All right. So let me look. Let me grab my phone. Y'all fucking won. Let me grab my phone. Look
can't
at
be
what I got.
Thursdays or Fridays.
Thursdays or Fridays. Thursday or Fridays. Well, I
Yeah.
don't see myself going on to Max's show anytime in the future. Not that I have anything problem with Legion of Myth, or I would
Well,
go
he
on.
canceled the Friday show.
Oh, did he really?
Yep.
I wonder
He
why.
can't do all the things he wants to do. He can't do all of them, so that's one of the things that he cut. He's still doing his Sunday show, which is
Oh,
fine. I think he should have done it the other way around, kept the Friday show and canceled the Sunday show. But that's me. It's his life and his schedule, etc. Um, but I'm in a Friday game. That's why I haven't been on his show. And of course, as soon as I tell him, hey, I want in on a show because he was doing the multi-genre, I bugged him, and I guess he couldn't get me in because he'd already scheduled people. And I'm like, okay. I still watched it, but he should have had me on that one. But it seems like uh, that's the kiss of death. The same thing happened with Biggest Geek because they said, hey, let's do a show together. And 2 episodes later, they turned the show off.
and you're wanting me to start a show with you? Jeez, that could be scary.
Yeah, well,
All
that's
right.
different.
All
We'd
right.
already done a
So
show together. Well,
we do multiple
that's
shows together.
different. Yeah. But
All
it's
right.
different because it was more regular and family and stuff like that, as opposed to, you
So
know,
Raven, just for you, the June 20th, which is next Friday. And I'm not going to reach out to everybody. It's just going to be me and Shadow like it was in the very beginning. And Jack. Jack's busy though. How about since the movie Holy Grail got brought up earlier, and we didn't do Holy Grail if I remembering correctly.
oh, him.
Let's do Holy Grail. Monty Python's Holy Grail.
But you said Friday.
I thought you said Friday.
No, I can't do Fridays.
Oh, okay. Thursday?
Maybe, but it'd have to be after my other show.
When does your other show end?
Different times, different. I usually start
Oh,
at.
you're killing me, Smalls.
We could. I could maybe. We know Raven. That's kind of why he picked it. If it's at like 8 or 9, I could do it.
Let's do 9. 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock next Friday.
Thursday.
What? Thursday. Jesus, Mary and Joseph. I need to sleep more. Me and Shadow will do Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Is everybody happy? Y'all. Oh, me, Shadow, Raven, and the fly and all. Well, the fly looks happy, so we're good.
Yeah, I don't know about Jackie, but we'll try.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what streaming systems you have or don't have.
We have Amazon. We have Tubi now. We have Netflix.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Netflix does open some things up for us.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want either one of us to have to pay for having to watch the movies. So I'm going to try to keep things on the, if you have access to Netflix and Amazon Prime, we'll just go through those two things. Does that work for you?
That works. And Raven says she has the Holy Grail memorized.
I'm not surprised.
I honestly haven't seen it in, probably 40 years.
I think I saw it the night of my bachelor party.
She owns it on VHS and DVD. But do those machines work, Raven? That's the big question.
So,
does your VHS work? And if not, does your DVD player work?
Sometimes. Should I reach out to Bear? Should I let Bear know?
I'll see why not.
We have Bear on. We can't have the other person on.
Yeah, well, you can alternate.
Yeah. I'll reach out to Bear tomorrow. I'm sure it's Sunday and he's got to work.
It might be too late for him, just to be honest. You never hook Raven. There's like 2 plugs, maybe 3. They should be color coded.
Well, technically 4. Power, sound, audio, and something else. Right speaker, left speaker, and video. At least that's how it was back in the day.
Yeah, I've got a stack of DVDs I need to get through. I just got the complete Venture Brothers, but I never watched past season 4 ever.
There's just too much of that. I love to review that show. There's just too much of it.
What do you mean? 7 seasons of like 8 episodes each.
Right, but I don't want to review a whole fucking show.
No, but a season, you can do 1 season. It's 8 episodes. Jackie and I did 1 season. We reviewed it. Hopefully we'll go back to that during the summer.
Yeah.
But we'll see. He's got a love-hate relationship. He hates that he loves it, I think is the way it works. Because it's a little,
Well, I know the final season of Stranger Things begins in November 26th.
I can't wait. Say what you will.
So, we'll review that. I mean, we cannot,
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I love that show. I don't care. I know that I probably would punch half of the cast right in the nose if I got the opportunity, except maybe Winona Ryder. I'll forgive her for being a raging lefty lunatic. But
Sheriff, I might not like some of the things he says, but I love the characters he plays.
He did okay.
I mean, other shows that he's done. I just love,
I've seen him run his mouth, and I get it. But that show was great. That show was absolutely, um, and people, will disagree with me, but I think it did a great service to the hobby, role
oh
playing
yeah,
Dungeons and Dragons. Um, it did more than any other TV show or movie, whether it be, what was it? Uh, uh,
the cartoon in the '80s slash not early
that
'90s.
that
No, I
was
think it
that
just
was that was a disservice if you ask me. But what was it? E.T. and was it Red Dawn that they played D&D in?
they didn't play. They did not play Dungeons and Dragons in ET. I don't know about the original Red Dawn. I haven't seen that in
I
years.
could have swore they played it in E.T. I never saw the movie, but I could have swore they were making jokes about three
It might
charisma.
be. There might have been a reference to it, but I don't remember them actually sitting down and playing ET. And after I know, since it's summer, I'm going to throw another movie onto the list, and then you can of course pick one. But I want to do Dan Aykroyd and John Candy's The Great Outdoors.
I don't remember that one, but as long as it's not planes, trains, and automobiles, which I hated that movie. I love Steve Martin to death.
Oh, I love
Um,
John Candy to death.
John Candy was great, but I grew up uh, watching early Saturday Night Live. I mean, the very first episode, my old man and I we watched it. Steve Martin was absolutely awesome. One Christmas, I got one or two Steve Martin albums
Oh wow.
as a gift. I mean, I was really young. It was probably one of the first times I had ever heard the F word, on a like record or anything. I hadn't seen any of those kind of movies yet, and on Christmas morning, opened the presents, and the first thing I did was I ran into my room, my little freaking phonograph, little tiny box phonograph, playing that, laughing my ass off, and my parents were like listening. I could hear them going, "Oh my God, he's using bad words," because he didn't on Saturday Night Live, that wasn't
Yeah.
allowed. And I just absolutely loved everything he did. Um, I just didn't like planes, trains, and automobiles because I'm not. I also didn't like the vacation movies with Chevy Chase. Not
They
just because
had their
Chevy.
moments. As a whole movie, I never enjoyed them, but they had their moments in the movie that I thought was funny.
I
The
just don't like
Christmas
those
tree.
movies where it's all kinds of bad things happening to people who don't really deserve it. You're supposed to root for them to get through the thing. I didn't like Christmas Story either, to be honest.
Where you're afraid you're
Um,
going to shoot your eye out?
what?
Where you're afraid you're going to shoot your eye out?
No, no. The whole lamp thing was really creepy. The leg lamp. That was just really, really.
I for a kids movie, because that really what that movie was. It was a kids movie. I mean, of course, if you want adults to take their kids, parents to take their kids to the theater, you have to throw in some adult humor. Disney was really good about that, especially with their earlier '90s movies. Robin Williams and Aladdin.
I like that one.
Yeah, I mean Disney
But I
really.
loved everything Robin Williams did. As a matter
Oh,
of fact, every year now, I make sure to watch his big concert thing that he did, where he's wearing the American flag shirt, and he does that monologue where he's talking as if he was the American flag and what it's been through. Chokes me up every freaking time.
I have to look for that one. I'm sure I've
Oh
seen.
my
I'm sure.
god, dude! It will. I mean, if it doesn't choke you up, there's something wrong with you, and you need to get the fuck out of my country. Because he was just, he was one of us.
Oh yeah.
Uh, whether he knew it or not.
Oh, he was a big. I don't know about RPG games, but he was a big when it came to video games. He was a
No, he
big
was a big
gamer.
miniature guy too.
Was he really? Doesn't really
That's,
surprise me. It's like the guy who played Superman. I know a bunch of people didn't like the last Superman movies because he killed Zod in the first one, Man Steel. I'm like, Superman doesn't kill. No, that's Batman. Well, Superman, whatever. It's a movie. Deal with it. Anyways,
yep.
the guy looked like he could be. He's not Christopher Reeves, and I'm not going to make that argument because there's a lot of us that grew up watching Christopher Reeves Superman. Were all the Superman movies that Christopher Reeve did good? No, but he was still our Superman. Would you
Mhm.
say that's fair?
Oh, absolutely. Unless like me, you grew up watching the black and whites with I think it was Steve Reeves or
Which are they're not related. I was always slightly curious about that.
and
Anyways,
I think my parent I'm not sure if it was him. I can swear he's the one who also blew his brains out, and my mom and dad were at the party he did that.
oh shit, yeah, no, he suffered from massive
Yeah.
depression, and yeah, he did. Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's like when it comes to superhero stuff, there's a generation that will yell Adam West. There's a generation that'll yell Michael Keaton. Then there's another generation they'll yell Christian Bell. I'll say Ben Affleck, like him or hate him, he played a decent older Batman, Bruce Wayne.
Fuck George Clooney and everything he's ever done.
I'm
So
not a big George Clooney fan. I'm not a Val Kilmer. No disrespect to
I
him,
don't think I saw those either.
they weren't great. That was not the role for. That was not the role for Val Kilmer. And I've
No,
always said it takes two different actors to play Batman and Bruce Wayne because they're two different.
except Michael Keaton, and he did a great job at both.
Yeah, I think Ben Affleck did a decent job for what he had as Batman and Bruce Wayne. I don't like everything he's been in. I liked him in Daredevil, which is always,
I never saw that. I should though.
you're not missing much. I just liked
I
it.
wasn't a big Daredevil fan growing up. He just never got on my radar. And I know I probably should have watched it or read it, but I was more into other characters. I got to say, Christian Bale, while I didn't hate him, Heath Ledger stole all three movies, even though he's only in one. He was the best Joker of
I
all
thought
time.
the villains were better in those Batmans than the heroes.
What's up, Per? Long time no see, brother.
I like the first one. Liam Neeson playing Ra's al Ghul was excellent.
It was good.
Heath Ledger playing Joker was phenomenon. Tom Hardy being Bane.
I
I
haven't seen that one yet.
I have minor issues, but as a whole, I'm not mad at it.
I actually have the box set of all three movies, and I watched the middle movie with Heath Ledger just because I started seeing these Joker clips, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy is just stole the movie and stole the role of the Joker.
For a
Nobody's ever done it better, as far as I'm concerned.
for the physical actor playing Joker, I'll give it to. But if you go back to the '90s, my childhood ish, the voice of Batman will always be Kevin Connor. Kevin, I can't think of his last name. Conroy or something like that. He was the
Which
one.
one? Was he the one who was also in the Drew Carey show?
No, I don't think so.
Because the guy, you know how Drew Carey had his two friends, the tall blonde guy and the dark haired guy.
Yeah,
The dark haired guy played the voice of Batman. He was great. And I know the other guy who kind of looked like Lyle Lovett, kind of
oh yeah, yeah.
pompadour.
No. Oh, you're talking about the Harley Quinn show. He's the voice of Batman, and that's more recent. That's like really really recent. Mark Hamill was the Joker. Like him or hate him as the voice of the Joker was for my childhood and coming from my experience with Batman was amazing. And
I really enjoyed it. I have animated series season one, and I loved that show. I just he was great as the I guess Silver Age Joker or even the Bronze Age Joker, the original Joker, the clown prince of crime,
yeah,
the slapstick, with the Jack in the Box with the boxing
yeah.
gloves and the corny stuff where they had to tone it down. He was great for that. But for me, my favorite Batman was what's his name? Mark Miller, I think it was. Like Dark Knight Triumphant. The Dark Knight, the original Dark Knight stuff.
Yeah.
Frank Miller, excuse me. That's
Frank Miller. Frank Miller was.
That was more my kind of Batman, as well
It,
as
I don't know if it's on Netflix. I don't know where you could find it. But if you could find time to watch at least the movie Batman Beyond. It's Bruce Wayne has gotten older.
Oh yeah, I love that show. What's up,
There's
nerdy?
there's a movie where they have Mark Hamill come back to play the Joker, the voice of the Joker. And if you don't see any of the series and just watch that,
Mhm.
it
Did
gets
he
its
did
own
he do the voice in Killing Joke?
as Joker.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I watched
He-
that and I own it, and that was one of my three favorite Batman stories of all time. First was Year One.
Year one's
Uh,
good.
oh god, that comic was freaking phenomenal. Killing Joke, and then Frank Miller's Dark Knight.
Killing
And
Joke was a rough comic book.
oh my god, because that's where, as far as I know, I mean, the Joker freaking rapes Barbara Gordon. He freaking kidnaps and does all kinds of horrible things to Commissioner Gordon, and Batman still doesn't kill him. Was when I kind of fell off the Batman train. Uh, it was just like enough already. Uh, he's got to he's got to die, and he's still alive to this day. Just yeah, it was rough, man. It was, and the cartoon is true to everything except for obvious scenes.
Yeah. Batman, the Killing Joke animated movie. Kevin Conroy was the voice of Batman,
Okay,
and Mark Hamill was the voice of the Joker.
okay,
Uh,
yeah,
so, I mean, Heath Ledger physically live action will be the Joker up until we find the next person that does it. It's just the nature of the creature. It is what it is.
yeah, and I get it that's not the Joker we grew up with, or the Joker that we'll ever see again. But
Yeah.
that Joker is just magnificent.
I mean, as of today, he's the best Joker. I refuse to accept that Jared Leto, who played the Joker,
The worst Joker ever.
right?
Only the only one who comes close to being the worst, in my opinion, was Jack Nicholson, who was just
Jack Nicholson, Jack Nicholson with makeup on. That was
I
it.
hated him. I hated him.
I actually have a few compliments when it comes to Jack Nicholson in that movie. Because Tim Burton, who should never be allowed to direct any comic book fucking movie, was going to go some weird fucking direction, and Jack went to the studio, and whoever's like, "No, sorry, but if you want me in this film, we're somewhat staying true to form." And I like Jack Nicholson. I like Jack Nicholson as an actor. I thought he was an interesting guy, and he was a cigar smoker. How can I not like him?
Here's the thing.
Was he a great guy? Probably not.
Well, he's been married to the same woman for a long time, but has like multiple kids from other women. So there's that. He just There was something about his portrayal that was just. I think part of it was when he was dressed up in that sort of artsy, you know, modern, not modern, but like the stereotypical, artist kind of outfit, in the museum and stuff.
That was a weird. That was just. Well, Prince made some fucking money off that fucking movie.
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, not only Prince, but believe it or not, Danny Elfman would have made a freaking phenomenal Joker. If you go back and look for Danny Elfman, I forget what video it was. He did a song, and he's wearing the Joker makeup. And if you remember in Dark Knight, when the Joker in the future, the jail cells are literally like a coffin,
Yeah,
standing up, and they've only got this much room, and they're locked up for the rest of their life, like like this. They can move and shit, but that's all the room they get is enough to stand up and maybe sit down to sleep or whatever. And they show his face, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Danny Elfman. It was, but that ship has sailed. Danny's not going to get that part, and it's kind of too late.
I
But
love.
even Prince, when he was, I think they did this thing where he had like half his face was in Joker makeup, and I'm like, damn, if you were like 2 feet taller, you could have played the Joker.
William Defoe, I always thought would make a decent Joker, at least
He,
physically.
he would have. He would have.
And
Everybody says that about Robin Williams, but Robin Williams couldn't do that dark. He just couldn't. He probably wouldn't let himself. He
he
was
did
already
one
dealing
dark
with.
movie years later, Insomnia, I think it's called. He was in it. Not I can't think of the actor, but he was. He's done two dark movies, Insomnia and 1 hour photo or something like that, where he
William
was.
Dafoe, he played Green Goblin in the Spider-Man movies.
Which his Green Goblin always kind of remind me of the Joker. I mean,
Exactly, per. Yeah, William Dafoe would have played a great Joker. Sure would have blown away Joaquin Phoenix, who was another
the
really.
first one he did, the Joker, the first one he did, if that had nothing to do with the Batman series and it was just called the Joker, it wouldn't be a bad movie.
I
Because
saw it and there's just something. It was just too.
it was
Uh,
sad.
yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't want to feel, even though I know how, according to Killing Joke, how the Joker became the Joker, and that was sad. Losing your wife and newborn because your wife didn't know how to not keep the freaking fork out of the toaster to get the stuck bread while holding your baby and gets zapped while he's out doing a crime to make money to keep food on the table for his family. That would make anybody snap. Um, but yeah, Joaquin was just, it was just, it was so depressing. And the only high point of that movie for me was when he blew away Robert De Niro right in the face. That was like, oh, I everybody in the audience just was looking at me weird because I was just cheering for that. Wait, I'm grateful and being Joker because that movie was instrumental for Batman as a license. A lot of right. Yeah, I suppose, but I think it was more Michael Keaton's performance as Bruce Wayne that really, really for me did it.
Well, when it comes to characters, I completely with you. Yeah, Jack Nicholson was Hollywood royalty at that moment. Michael
I know
Keaton wasn't.
he kind of was.
But he wasn't.
Mr.
You could.
Mom. I mean,
He
he was a household name. He that movie that was like
Yeah, but at that
huge.
time, what Jack Nicholson had, what Chinatown underneath his belt, uh, The Few Good Men
Was
under
that
his belt.
before?
It was right around there.
I thought it was way after, to be honest.
It might have been.
Yeah, Michael Keaton was huge. And it's a shame that they didn't fix the suit like he asked in time for him to continue doing that. That's why we got the other actors because
Oh
he
yeah,
would have he would have done that for the rest of his life. That would have been perfectly
there was
fine.
an interview where somebody asked him, he's like, "When did you know it was a good time for you to get out of the Batman?" He's like, "When I was at a production meeting and they were talking about maybe adding more colors to the Batman suit." And I'm like, more colors to the Batman suit. There's really only should be one color to the Batman suit. I'll accept the yellow Batman shield. I'll accept that.
Mhm.
But Batman suits are black or maybe gray. But they're not blue, they're not purple. They're supposed to be able
Yeah,
to
I don't know, man. Growing up as a kid, the blue and gray. Uh, I mean,
the Adam
I
West ones.
yes, I well not just that, but the old DC Comics. He wore the blue and the gray from the very beginning all the way to Dark Knight. Dark Knight was
I see. I think that's where the generational hiccup happens between us. Because when I think of Batman, I'm not saying he is a vampire, but he is a creature of the night. He needs to be able to walk in the shadow and come in out the other side. If you don't have colors that will let you do that, then
I can say two words that will blow that argument right out of the water. Moon Knight.
Moon Knight is white because he's supposed to look like because the moon. It's
And
in the
he's
title.
still had one of the darkest comic books of all time.
Oh yeah, because he had an excellent fucking writer. Or I can't. I
Well, no,
mean,
I mean like the villains he went after and the crimes that he went after were all low power, but they were all like serial killers and brutal, bloody
I'll
murderers.
tell you, one of the three personalities he had was basically a murderer as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Joe,
Mark
was it Mark?
Jake. No, no, no. Mark Spector was the Playboy billionaire. I think, but no, that was Stephen Grant. I think. Mark Spector was the mercenary, and having hung out with those guys, yeah, he was a bad
There,
guy.
there was three of them. There was
Jake
uh
Lockley, the cab driver.
that was the murderer, borderline serial
Oh,
killer. The taxi driver,
not
the
in the
one
comic books.
maybe in the later ones.
But maybe after he died and came back to life when I stopped reading it, because
Yeah,
I read everything up to where he died, literally died, which was after he got all the gold Egyptian magic weapons, which I hated. But I stuck with it all the way to like issue 80 or whatever when he died, and they ended the series. And then I found out like a decade later they brought him back, and he's even more powerful. Yes, Moon Knight is absolutely supernatural, but in the beginning, the first up until the first 80 issues, he had no supernatural like anything. It was the god Kanashu, smiled on him and stuff, but he was still mostly just a regular dude. He was
the,
a
the
little bit more
craziest
powerful than Daredevil.
the craziest thing about him was the multi personalities that let him.
Yeah, yeah, and the original Mark Spector, the original guy before he started doing the Moon Knight, was a dyed in the wool mercenary doing some pretty horrendous shit all over the world in every theater you can imagine. And then when he like died the first time and came back with the blessing of Kanashu, then he got rich and became Stephen Grant and Jake Lockley, the cab driver, and made this international corporation, super rich, whatever. The Stephen Grant character was his Bruce Wayne, whereas he had a lot of one of the reasons I was drawn to that comic was because he had a lot of parallels with my namesake, the Shadow, where he was a bad guy turned good guy.
The Shadow knows. Did we ever watch that movie? I don't think so. Did we? With Alex Baldwin.
Who?
The Shadow. The movie came out in the 90s.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lamont Cranston, I think was his real name.
Yeah.
The rich kid who got into some crimes and stuff. Went to Tibet and or they recruited him, taught him all their ninja skills, and he came back a good guy. Yes, Alec Baldwin did a really good job, but it was Alec Baldwin. So,
Hey, I mean,
and mind you, that when he did that movie, he was a different guy, and he did a great job. I'll give it to him. And every once in a while, I'll watch that movie.
that cast that was an interesting cast of people. I mean, you had the guy who later off became Gandalf as the father scientist. Tim Curry, who is just fucking weird to begin with.
Wait. Ian McKellen was in that movie?
Yeah, he was the absent-minded scientist that was under the control of the bad guy.
Oh, really? Was he?
Yeah.
Okay, because I know
Keep in mind, everybody was kind of younger in that movie at this point.
decades, yeah. But I mean, Ian McKellar's always been old.
No, in the Shadow.
No, he was. Yeah, I was going to say. Uh, what the Shadow, nerdy? It's a good movie. The only thing I didn't like about it was Tim Curry, uh, because
He got paid to play a weasel. I mean, he does the weasel character
not
well.
only did he play a weasel, but he played the most just sweaty, gross, weaseliest of almost rapist you could possibly imagine. And mind you, I this has come from a guy who had seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show like a couple hundred times prior to that, live in the theater as one of the cast members up in front of the stage. So I even knew about Tim Curry's musical career, and I could name at least one of his songs, which most people can't. They didn't even know he actually recorded albums back before that.
I knew he could sing, so it doesn't surprise me he has an album.
Several. He was kind of big. That's what he did before he got that part. He was a musician. Um,
Because there was this cartoon movie he did back in the 90s, early, late 80s, Fern Gully.
was
And
he? I've seen that as well, and he did okay. I'm not gonna lie. It was
oh,
definitely but
Legends was amazing for its time.
I, I need to go see it. It's been a very very long time since I've seen it. Like
Well, when it
again,
comes to like hard school fantasies in the 80s and 90s, there was only a handful.
yeah,
Let's see. There was The Labyrinth, David Bowie. Uh, there was, let's see, Princess Bride. There was the Legend. There was only, I mean, yeah, there was only,
Beastmaster, Lady Hawk,
yeah.
Dragon Slayer.
I keep forgetting about Dragon Slayer.
I haven't seen that movie since it came out. Even though I've got the comic book, the Marvel adaptation, I don't remember really liking the movie that much.
Yeah, Fern Gully had Robin Williams and Tim Curry.
Uh, yeah, I don't really remember Fern Gully. I was way too old to be watching those kind of movies.
And
But
Jack
I
wasn't
did
even a
remember
blimp
like
on the map.
Robin Williams played the Bat or something, the crazy Bat
Yeah.
character.
Well,
Okay.
you have it came out in 90, 91, 92, somewhere in that area.
Yeah, I
Jack
was.
wasn't born yet,
Yeah,
and you're a grown ass man.
yeah,
So you not seeing
yeah,
Fern Gully doesn't surprise me.
yeah. I never saw The Land Before Time. I did see The Secret of Nim, which I thought was awesome. And I did see all of the Rescuers, which I thought were awesome, especially the Rescuers Down Under.
I was about to
That
say the Australian one was so much better than the first one.
It was, even though Bob Newhart was in it. George C. Scott just stole the movie as the bad guy. Bob Newhart was one of the two mice,
Okay, I'm trying to.
and Jaja or Ava Gabor was the other one,
Oh
and her
yeah,
voice was just gorgeous. She just had one of the most beautiful voices of all time.
nerdy. Me and Shadow did do Beastmaster, and yes, the sequels do suck ass.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Although the
And
TV series wasn't.
I saw Beastmaster 2 on my uh, uh, Tubi feed when I was looking for Miami Vice and some other cop shows that I can't seem to find behind except behind a paywall, which blows my mind, especially since like I'm trying to find Miami Vice. I want to watch the whole series because I didn't watch it all growing up, which I absolutely should have. And Netflix has each season at like $20, not Netflix, Amazon. It's like $20, maybe it's less per season. Um, and same with the Rookies, another one I have to watch because Nathan Fillion's in it, even though he's kind of a jackass. I've loved everything he's ever been in,
That
and I found the Rookie, Miami Vice, and Hill Street Blues, the complete series, or at least up to season 6 for the Rookie, for like $20-ish versus like $20-ish for a season on Amazon.
here's a
I
thought.
get the whole freaking series of Miami Vice for like $20.
Here's a thought. You're more than welcome to shoot it down, but I have a thought. I want to do one show, one complete show, and the movie goes with it. Can you name them? Can you think of the what show I'm thinking about?
Show.
It only had like 10 episodes, one season. It might have a little
No.
bit more than 10. I want to do all Firefly,
Oh,
in the movie.
it'd have to be two parts.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna be there for like 4 hours.
Or we could just do a month of Firefly or however long, do what
Yeah.
we did with. We can work it out which way ever. We could do the first half.
Firefly is probably my favorite live action TV show of all time. I don't know of anything that was better, and it's God, that was just such a masterpiece. Um,
That's like one of the few shows I'm more than willing, other than Stranger Things,
yeah,
to actually do. And it's only one season. It really is. It's not really worth it. Right up there with Highlander 2. There's a way to watch the Highlander movies and not be disappointed.
I'm gonna make some people pissed, but I think Highlander 2 was the best of the Highlander movies.
Now that we have that nonsense off, let's just hold on a second. There's a way to watch the Highlander movie, and the second one's not it.
I'm sorry. I get it. The first one was really good, but I really thought that the second movie um, had like some really great sci-fi elements that it could have been its own thing.
It should have
Completely.
been its own thing. Something, a whole different movie, same actors, but not attached to the Highlander whatsoever. It could have been its
It
own.
really didn't belong where it was. It should, like I said, it should have been its own thing. Star Wars Christmas special. I saw that live when it came on, and Star Trek: The Motion Picture. You have to understand when it came out, it was freaking huge. All those people have been waiting since 1968 to see Star Trek again,
Yeah.
and they had to wait like 20 years. That would be like watching Star Wars, the first movie, A New Hope, and waiting 20 years for Empire Strikes Back.
Or just
There were so many people like crying in the theater and on the way out because of how happy they were to have seen it. I know it was kind of a shit movie. It was kind of like 2001 Space Odyssey. You either love it or you hate it. And the people that love it, you know, hail it as being one of the greatest science fiction projects of all time. And the people who hate it, think it was, like 2 hours too long.
I Highlander. Ogre. This is how you watch the Highlander series. The franchise. You watch the first movie. You ignore the second one and the third one. Just don't act like they don't exist. Go straight to the TV series. Then, when Endgame happens, where Endgame, you watch Endgame, then you just get off the boat. You just don't watch any more of it. That's how you
I
watch
couldn't I
Highlander.
couldn't watch the TV show. I always just couldn't stand Adrian Paul. That was the guy in the TV show, right?
Yeah. Oddly enough, he
I
kind of
just
looks like my dad.
I saw there was something else he was in that I watched and I hated him from
Tracker?
that point on. What?
Was it Tracker?
No,
Was it a movie or a show?
I think it was a TV show.
Oh, because he was in Love Potion number 9.
Didn't see
If
that.
if you ever want to talk about a movie about, making a girl's drink, statutory rape, Love Potion number 9 would be it.
No, no way. That was a different time, back when rape was legal. Just saying,
That's there are certain movies, I watched, I just don't want to review on my channel, and we've talked about some of these movies. Revenge of the Nerds on that list because it's rapey.
Yeah, absolutely, it was. And again, different time where a lot of people, not this guy, because, well, anyways, thought that particular part was other things other than absolutely awful. And I was like, what the shit? That dude should have been spending the rest of his life behind bars.
Oh,
Uh,
the whole frat should be behind the bars for putting the cameras in the sorority girls in the house.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But there's just certain movies out there that You can't even give them. Well, they just didn't age wrong. I'm like, no, they were bad movies at their time.
Well, like I said, the things were very different,
Right.
uh, back then. And I'm not saying they were good or right, to the contrary, but things were very different back then.
I'm also the same guy. The quote Carlin, Eddie Murphy, Sam Kinison,
Yep.
uh, Andrew Dice Clay. I mean, these are the comedians. Dennis Leary. I grew up on these. Are still my favorite comedians. But sometimes wrong is just what the fuck. And
Yep.
I mean, and I'm only 42. I'm still when it comes to a lot of these movies, I was not a teenager, I was not a young adult, I was very much just a kid. So I wasn't there for that thought processing.
No,
Yes, there's
I don't know if there's humor that's off limits, because I've seen arguments to the contrary. You could make some jokes about things that most people don't think are funny, but if we start doing that, who's in charge of drawing those lines? Who's in charge of saying what's off limits, what you can and can't say, which then dictates what you can and can't think or feel. No thanks.
I
If
don't
you
need a
want to
thought
be an
voice.
asshole and a scumbag, I want to know about it, and I want to know about it because of the things you say, and then I can judge you based on those things, and then the rest of us can then deal with you as is warranted. Um, because if you take away a man's ability to speak his mind, you don't want to see what you'll get. You'll get a lot of people doing things. Uh, that that line. When they discover somebody has done some awful crap, and they find out all his neighbors loved him and thought he was a great guy because he's had to hide that shit. Well, you get more of that shit. You'll get people doing awful things, and because they can't say those things, they'll act out in different ways. And uh, who gets to decide what? We all, there's no way we can all worldwide, everybody gets a little clicker box and we start voting on certain topics, to see who wins. There's no way to do that. Therefore, it's all got to be out there in the open, or at least able to be out there in the open. Otherwise, you get the wrong people saying what you can think and say and feel.
There
And
are
at that point, it's compelled speech. And
there's
I don't want to wish everybody a good day, even the people I don't like.
there are moments I wish there was a live camera in the Oval Office of the White House. And there's other days I'm glad that there's not. It's humor, time and place. You know,
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's the same thing with art. Exactly. I mean, you know, there have been some horrible things, out there, and if you don't get to see them and hear them and know about them, and they're all in the shadows, hiding in the people's closets and stuff, um, you'll never know. And one day, it's your daughter going out with someone you think is okay, but if he was free to speak his mind, you'd be like, no, just no. And we need that, until we're all plugged into the matrix and we can all read each other's thoughts and stuff, or something to that effect.
oh my God, I don't want to
You
read
need
each
people to
other's
open up
thoughts.
their mouth and show you who they really are.
I agree. Although reading other people's minds, I don't want that ability. My ego can't take it.
I mean, that's a good example. If you the farther back in the past you go, people getting disemboweled by lions in the arenas, some people were laughing their asses off. I don't want to see that come back, but I want to know who wants to bring that back.
Not saying that we should. Not saying we should, but I'm gonna throw this out there. You
And
are.
the further we go into the future, the more people in power are going to try and tell us what we can and can't say.
I'm once again not saying that we should, but here's a thought. My thought. I'll own it. But if you go to prison for being a chomo, and there is actual proof, not just he says, she says, but actual actual proof. I think there should be an arena with lions, and they're thrown in there.
Uh, yeah, kind of something. I don't think you should even get to wear the orange jumpsuit. That's for certain.
I mean, I kind of feel sorry for the lions for having to eat such pieces of shit, but I'm just saying.
I'm sure it all tastes the same and poops out just the same.
Yeah.
Just,
So I'm actually looking forward to doing Monty on a bunch happier note. Monty Python sounds fun.
yeah.
Uh,
Uh, as long as we don't do Brazil, I'm good.
ooh, yeah, no, that one was weird.
Yeah, I hated that movie.
Field of
I
Dreams?
Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's one of those things I saw once and didn't think I'd ever see again. But I suppose, if it makes the rotation, it's not a big deal.
It's not, I mean, I
I like
mean,
role play games.
yeah, I like role playing games. Well, what kind of role playing games do you like there, Per? Do we need to talk to you? Do we need to
You
have a
kidding? Per's the
conversation?
nicest guy I've ever met, even though I've never met him in person. Um, yeah. Uh, Speaking of role playing games, I should be getting the Planet of the Apes role playing game in the mail in the next month or two. I'm looking forward to that.
I'm something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Growing up for me, Planet of the Apes was like uh, one of the biggest things when it came to science fiction for so long. It was so huge. The marketing, normally a movie like that, even a movie with sequels and whatnot, you really wouldn't see much in the toy aisle or in the T-shirt aisle, in the lunchbox aisle. That shit would just disappear after like a year. It just on to something new. But
uh,
for a huge part of my elementary school life, that just did not go away, and it just for us kids, it just got better, even though it got darker.
Per, to answer your question, I'm thinking at about 45 minutes or when my cigar comes to an end, whichever happens first. Here's I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to do like old movies to a certain degree, like Hitchcock's Rear Window would be fun to do. Um, Maybe a John Wayne movie. I don't know.
I can't
Midway.
think of. I was never really a big John Wayne fan, to be honest.
Oh,
Uh,
Matlock or Matt something. What was that? Matt. Oh, no. The Quiet Man with John
that's
Wayne.
like one of the only ones I've ever seen. I actually
Did you
saw
like
that
it?
in school, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, we saw that. It was a rainy day. Teacher brought in the AV squad, and we watched that one. That's the boxing movie, right?
Yeah, he was a boxer. He killed somebody, goes to Ireland, tries to start his life over. There's a huge Donnybrook at the end of the film fight, a huge fight. Um, it's a really good movie. It's one of my. It's like one of the. There's two John Wayne movies I really like, and that's one of them. The other one was Shooter, his last role. Razor.
No, actually, I take that back. I really enjoyed True Grit,
True
but I
Grit's
want to
good.
I want to see the remake. Uh,
Dude, with Jeff Bridges.
yeah,
It's good. It's a slow burn for a movie, but it's good.
yeah, and I wouldn't mind seeing African Queen. I think that's what it was.
That's an old one.
Yeah.
Sean Connery. I big Sean Connery fan. Going back to the Highlander series. But the Name of the Rose, where he plays a monk, was a good one. I liked
Mm,
it. Medicine Man was fun, but only for like one scene. And we don't need to talk about that scene because if you've seen the movie, you know what scene I'm talking about. If you haven't, well,
yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I heard the Shootist was good. If I was gonna watch a Sean Connery movie, I would have to pick Indiana Jones at the Last Crusade.
Yeah, the one with Christian Slater.
I actually liked Christian Slater from Heather's on. We should watch Heather's.
I'm surprised that we haven't.
You know, I mean, that was like that was like one of the darkest, funniest, darkest movies of our generation, or at least my generation. It was
Oh, fuck me.
wow, that movie was
Was that
fucked
line?
up.
Well, fuck me with a chainsaw.
The only movie I can think of that I thought was darker than that was Very Bad Things. With Cameron
Mm,
Diaz and a bunch of other people I can't remember.
yeah, I don't know. Throw mama
I
off the
don't ever
train.
want to see that movie again. It was so dark. Uh,
I don't know. I think of that era of movies, I think throwing mama off the train was dark but funny.
yeah, I don't consider that really dark because it really has uh, a cheery sort of ending.
I,
Um,
I went through a Billy Crystal phase, not a huge phase, but
it
there
was
for a
great.
while.
I watched him as a young man. Believe it or not, I was the only person in my family who actually watched Soap the entire run. My parents never watched it, and I swear to God, they would have loved it, but they wouldn't watch it for some reason. I had to go into another room to watch it every night that it was on. And from that point, when he played Jody on Jody Dallas, on Soap, which was just, oh my God, what a show! That show was so good, and nobody ever talks about it.
I don't think I've ever seen it.
Really, oh my God! Got to find a way for you to watch at least a couple episodes of season
I'll
one,
look into it. I'll definitely look into it.
dude. I'm not a soap opera guy, you know. Go Benson. Yes, it did give us that. Um, it was just the greatest spoof on all soap operas up until that moment. Which, there were a lot, but I didn't know anything about them. But I learned everything I needed to know about soap operas and why I was never going to watch them because soap did it all better.
You like were you ever into what's that RPG game called Shadowrun?
No,
No.
I didn't
There's
like
a mo-
Shadowrun, Cyberpunk, or wasn't there another one? Um,
I don't know. Anyways, there's a show on Netflix called Bright that is very Shadowrun-ish.
which is
Bright, B
never
R
heard of it.
I G T H. Yeah,
Never
B
heard.
R I G T H. It has Will Smith in it. He plays a human. The other guy plays his partner. Cop partner is an orc, and it's interesting show.
Yeah, I didn't like. That's one of the things I didn't like about uh, Shadowrun was the sort of heavy-handed way they brought back all of the fantasy D&D kind of stuff to an urban fantasy game. Not saying that Games Workshop did it better, but they made it a little bit more believable. And Rifts did it a little bit more believable, but I still really don't like. Um,
There we go. That's what you need to know about that movie. It's Bad Boys, but written by
that's kind of funny.
and there's
I
no
mean,
one fucking singing in it. That's the best part. I don't have to listen to the trees fucking sing.
dude, the singing in the Hobbit cartoon was done magnificently.
Oh God.
Taking words off a page and bringing them alive exactly the way they would have sounded in Tolkien's world without Tolkien being a musician or able to convey what he was trying to portray in those songs was fantastic. I'm not saying I like that kind of music or anything like that, but it was done perfectly. That song "Down in the Valley" in The Hobbit, oh my God, that it's beautiful. It's not my cup of tea, but I could recognize it as absolutely what Tolkien was trying to show us, from his mind, put on the big screen, um, in from his perspective, and yet and not yet, but they got the greatest guy to do that. The bard with the greatest bard name, Glenn Yarborough, did that music. Do I have the soundtrack? No. Am I going to mute it when I watch it? No. Am I going to, want to listen to it over and over? No. But, for what needed to be there, according to what was on the page, exactly. It was perfect.
If we're going to have singing in a movie that we do, it has to be Hudson Hawk.
I was thinking the same thing, brother. See, we do agree on things. That movie was fucking awesome. Why it didn't have like Bruce Willis's name on it for the rest of his career, I don't know. Who is Hudson Hawk? Yes, exactly. Oh, you were talking about Bright? Okay. Yeah, I've never seen it, never heard of it. Maybe I'll give it a chance one of these days. Maybe I'll be forced to because of this show.
I'm gonna, like I said, the two streaming networks I'm gonna use for this show, for me and Shadow, is gonna be.
Well, Tubi's free too, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's free. I just have to download it for my Xbox.
Yeah, I just like there's a whole bunch of stuff I need to watch for the RPG game that Justin and I are writing, and I can't find any of them behind for free. And mind you, Kolchak the Night Stalker, nobody gives a shit. You know what I mean? It was 40 years ago, and everybody,
that's like trying to get your hands on the original Equalizer.
Yeah, I guarantee you find a paywall. Why? Because they think that, before the Last of Us die off and nobody ever remembers it, they're going to get their last, $8.99 for it.
Yeah, there's a bunch of shows out of the 80s, early 90s I actually enjoyed. You might not, I know how your feeling is on Ron Perlman, but I liked Beauty and the Beast.
Dude.
It's like the one show. It's the one show that me and Shauna can both agree on, that says something right there.
Pour one out for Shauna, man.
Yeah.
I had an ex-girlfriend who was in love with that show, had the comic books, etc. I had to sit through some of it. Usually I could find something else to do. It just not my thing, man. Not my thing.
I get it. Not every show is meant for everybody. Not every game is meant for everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like hypothetically, I said, hey, it's it's hockey season right now. Their Stanley Cup is going on right now, right? And because of Stanley Cup, Shadow, I want me and you to sit down and watch Slapshot with Paul Newman in it. Are you a hockey guy? I don't know. Am I a hockey guy? Not really. But it's Paul fucking Newman.
You know what? I'm not a sports guy at all, but I can tell you this. I can't think other than Gus. Yeah. Okay. Go look that up real quick while I ramble on for a minute. I can't think of a sports movie I've ever seen that I didn't like. I saw The Natural. I thought that was awesome.
I've seen that movie too many times.
I've seen Paper Lion. Anybody remember that one with Alan Alda?
I've seen that.
I'd love to see that one again, even though I know I would probably punch Alan Alda in the face. He was kind of an idol growing up from watching MASH.
I want to punch him in the face for the last 2 seasons of MASH.
Understandable. Sometimes just because you make the money doesn't mean you should direct.
Okay.
Wait, Gus, you were hired to be the actor. Just stay there in your lane. I get it. If we did that, a lot of people would never go on to make some great things. But sometimes, you're just an actor.
Yeah,
because you made more money, than everybody else in the franchise combined, including the creator, doesn't mean you deserve to take over.
Yeah. I mean, going back, let's say Paul Newman. Paul Newman's did some great movies. Cool Hand Luke is one of my favorite ones of
Dude,
his.
you don't even have to go into the movies. You can go to his. I don't know if it was his very first appearance, but his appearance as Death in Twilight Zone.
Oh
Oh my!
yeah. Oh yeah.
The guy was destined for greatness. Again,
Um,
probably want to punch him, but I'm sure
I
break his
mean,
neck if I did.
like going into hockey movies, there's like only a few hockey movies that I actually have seen and like, and unfortunately, you could draw right down the Mighty Ducks 1, 2, and 3 on that list, but they came out when I was a kid.
What was that movie? Was it Ice Castles with DB Sweeney and Moira Kelly? The hockey player goes into figure
Yeah,
skating because
I
he gets
know
all
what you're
fucked up.
talking about. It wasn't Ice Castle. Hold on, I got a phone.
Just look up DB Sweeney and Moira. I think it was Moira Kelly.
See, when DB Sweeney was in, he came to my attention when he did the Alien movie,
Fire in the
Iron
Sky.
Sky. Then he did a TV show on Fox called Strange Luck. He was on. He's done a few other things, but he was a great actor. I don't know whatever happened to him.
I don't know. Yeah, he was fun. He reminded me of a lot of guys I grew up with. Guy next door, normal guy. But just like David Spader, he was. Oh my god, he was in some weird ass movies.
Cutting Edge.
That was Cutting Edge. Okay, yeah, I watched that one. I didn't hate it. I thought I was gonna, but it was like, hey, this is for a chick flick.
It's fun. It's a fun date movie.
What was I only went well not I can't say only went on one. I went on I think two movie dates in my life. One was Terminator 2 and one was I think it was Home Alone.
That's a weird
Yeah,
date.
I know, right?
I mean, I can't say anything. I had a girl talk me into going on a date night to watch Passion of the Christ when that came out. The Mel Gibson movie, The
That's a
Passion.
rough one, man.
Oh man,
That's like
I know I'm not getting laid after this movie.
your words, not mine, but I couldn't agree more. Wow, I mean, really. Um,
And the lady, I mean, oh my God, I'm not making fun of the movie. I'm being respectful to a certain degree, you know. And an old bird in front of me is like, "Shh, I want to watch this movie." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, I understand. I'm sorry." She's like, "I want to see how it ends." I'm like, "What? You don't know how this story ends?"
yeah, I think it was it Carlos Mencia who did the same bit. Uh,
Oh, did he really? I haven't seen a lot
oh
of
yeah,
his.
I you know what is I don't know what happened to him, but he did a couple of things that I really respected. On his stand-up
He's
show.
coming to Pure. He's coming to town for me.
Really,
Sometime the next couple months. I was actually thinking about getting tickets to go.
really.
Yeah.
I hope uh, it doesn't suck. Put it that way. He did this one show where he ends the comedy show on like oh my god, like just like a really poignant, sad, freaking gut wrenching,
Yeah.
just fact. I forget which show it was. It was like, oh my god, I can't believe he just did that. Everybody walked away like they're having a good old time, laughing their ass off, and then he just hits you with this thing like a gut punch, just like
Do you know
oh,
why the would you say today's comedies were the medieval variations of a jester?
some yes, some no.
So the jester had two jobs when he was working for a king. If it was a truly noble king, and a whole lot of them weren't, but if it was a truly noble king, the jester had two jobs: A, to make the court laugh, and to keep the king honest. He was
Mhm.
the only person that can call the king out on his shit and not
Well,
get punished for it.
ostensibly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't imagine they would do it in court, but when the two were alone.
Maybe not.
Comedians to a certain degree have a weird ability to call it out for what it is.
Sometimes. Uh,
History per I'm a where are you going with this per?
I think he's disagreeing with you.
That's fine.
I don't know because I find that we can't really look back in the past and see what how that was going.
There's a program they used to have on Netflix. It's still found on YouTube called TED Talk, where they had experts of their field come and do a lecture.
Yeah, I've seen a few, and then I stopped watching them because some of the shit they were spouting was vile.
You have to be picky on which ones you watch, because certain ones are, the dinosaur one. If we try to clone dinosaurs, we'll get great big chickens. Was an interesting one.
There have been a few that I was glad I watched, but then there were a few that I had to cut off, real early on when they're talking about certain things, and yeah.
I don't know. It's the way our education system works in America is everybody it's interesting. Well, people want to yell at the federal government what their kids are being taught at school, but it's not the federal government's fault what their kids are being taught at school. It's the state school board is to blame for what your kids are taught at school.
Well, the National School Board Association, whatever it's called, whatever it is, has a huge impact on
Well, I'm not saying it doesn't. But the state has, in most cases, the state has the final say.
As it should.
So
what's right in one state isn't necessarily right for another, and even then, you should be allowed to sit in on any class you want at any fucking time. When they started locking up the classes and no one in, no one out kind of thing a couple years back, that was horrific.
I blame somebody for that. Blame the people that are responsible for Sandy Hook and the one down in Texas.
It had nothing to do with that. There was always a simple solution to keep that from ever happening. A couple of well-trained good men at the gates, metal detectors, etc. No problem. This problem would have never happened, and that should have been from day fucking one. The invention of the gun. Guess what? We're going to protect our kids with those self-same inventions. I used to take Jackie to school every day. We would ride our bikes to school. I would take him to school. I would ride home. Then I'd come back and pick him up. And every day I could walk through the school gates up to my son's class, ask my son's teacher how he was doing on a daily basis, and I did so. Then in I want to say 2015-ish, maybe 2016, that stopped. And all the schools were locked. You couldn't get in. You couldn't see the teacher. You didn't even know what your kid's teacher looked like from that point on.
Yeah, well,
and that was just unacceptable.
When my daughter was in junior high, I could have walked in.
Yeah, of course, it was.
When my daughter was in school, here this past year, if I wanted to go see her at class, all I had to do was go to the office, check in, which you should anyways, so they know who's in the building, and get a piece of visitor sticker, and I could walk to her class. That was it. I don't mind.
I didn't even need that unless it was during school hours. But when the school was over, walk right in, no problem.
Right.
But if it was during school and I needed to bring him somewhere or something like that, they did the sticker. And no, I'm in California, I knew every one of his teachers. They knew me, and they knew I was there to pick up my boy, and they knew we were the only guys riding bikes to school. Everybody knew us, and he did great because I was able to go in every day and make sure he was doing great, make sure he was, not falling behind or any of that. Instead of waiting, halfway through the year or a quarter through the year to find out he's, lagging in one subject or another. Uh,
Well, I got emails. If my daughter was having issues with something, I got an email from the teacher.
yes, per and none for the better. Hopefully, things will,
But as I was saying,
right themselves.
I didn't mind having to stop at the office and sign in and get a
Mhm.
sticker if it's school hours.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely. I mean, if they're not gonna, because they could just as easily have the kid brought to the office.
yeah.
Um,
I don't want, at the same time, you don't want a person who has no kids just to be able to walk in that school during school
Absolutely.
hours.
That's why you
It,
got a couple of guys at the front, uh, entrance, back entrance, whatever. Obviously, carrying protective measures, and no problem. You know, the likelihood that one of them is going to be one of the bad guys is ridiculous. Um, Even in those large numbers, it's just not likely. Um,
there's always the percentage, but I'll give you the percentage is really, really extremely fucking low. I mean, you
yeah,
can't ever rule anything permanently out. There will
no,
always
and
be.
especially with those kind of numbers when you're talking about hundreds of thousands, and one out of 100,000 is, too many. But if that was the case, and we actually believed that statement, then we would have never allowed, 40 million people to come over our borders without being vetted.
As I've said before, if only those Native Americans in the very beginning had better border control. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm trying to stay away from all that right now.
I understand, but you see my point though. If you can say it about one thing, you can say it about the other.
If we're kicking people out of the country for being criminals or for being bad people, um, let's start with KKK. They've done some major
It's a,
damage.
I
Let's
don't know
kick
that that even
out.
exists anymore. And if it does, it's in such microscopic numbers.
No, no, but they exist. You can't say they don't. But let's kick. I'm just using examples here. The neo Nazis,
Again, same thing.
but they exist. They're out there. I have some of them here in Pekin. Every gang out there, every fucking gang.
Hmm.
We have enough of our own people here that we should kick out.
Well, that's the thing is, we have this other solution to kicking people out who were born here. It's called jail, and I'm perfectly fine with that system.
To a certain degree, prison is a solution, but it's becoming more of a cement storage unit department than an actual prison. Was not supposed to be the place you get locked up for all your life, depending on the crime. You're supposed to do your time and leave. You are a U.S. citizen. Yes, you can no longer have guns. I'm okay with that. But you should be able to vote after you get out of prison. But you can't in some states.
It depends on what you're convicted of.
If you get caught stealing,
Is it a felony?
uh,
That's why we have different
yeah,
classifications.
yeah, it depends. I'll give you that. It depends on what they're in prison for, but
Mhm.
it's not it that it's an umbrella thing in some states. You
Just
go
like
in,
here's an example of how we do things. If you've been convicted of certain crimes, you're also not allowed to be on jury duty.
yeah. I
Same
don't.
reason. There's a reason behind everything. You just got to look a little below the surface, and you'll find out the logic behind it. Just like why you're not supposed to steal or kill, because in the old days, those people had families and they would get even. Oh, you killed or you stole. Well, we're gonna get even, and if we don't do any of those things, then nobody needs to get even, and everything's peachy keen. But we're evil little monkeys, and we can't seem to not do those things. So we have to make a place to put those people until they learn their lesson. Unfortunately, the lessons they learn in those institutions are how to be better at what got them there.
Have you ever watched this TV show? It's a Canadian one called Trailer Park Boys.
No.
It's on Netflix. You should check that one out as well.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be
I
scared to
totally
be.
agree, Nerdy. Depending on what that is, because personally, I don't think the penalties are stiff enough so that you should not get out for certain things. If you've done some of the upper echelon
There's only
crimes,
realistically three things you should never see the light of the day for. Other everything else, I'm like, you do your time. You're putting time
uh,
out.
I don't know because like for example, in the old west, if you stole a horse, you died. If
A
you
horse was
stole
also wait. A horse was a way of life. You would die in certain circumstances. You and your family would starve and die without a horse, a donkey,
Mhm.
cattle. But
Yep.
we're not there anymore.
No, but even
You
stealing
can't live
somebody's
without a
car,
car. You
even
can't
stealing
live.
even stealing someone's car can ruin their life.
Yes, I agree. I agree to a certain degree. There's a certain degree where there is, depending on your location. Yes, stealing a car, somebody stealing my car is really going to fuck my life for a while. But I
Mhm.
still have the city bus. I still have in other ways to get back and forth until the situation is worked out.
I- 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 per,
Depending on where you
I've seen
live.
people. I've seen people who not even had their car stolen, but their car dies on them, and from that point they can mark the downfall of their life from going upward to now going downward.
I think
And
this is one
because
of
of
those.
that one moment in time, the things that then happen to them, because yes, there are buses and things like that, but if your job starts at 4 o'clock in the morning and you've had that job for years, and now suddenly you can't get to that job anymore, and you have to now look for a new job, plus you're not getting paid for the old job, and
I
suddenly
don't. There
you're
was
looking
this.
at eviction and everything else, bad credit, etc., because somebody stole your car.
I understand. I'm not disagreeing with that. It's a very much a case by case scenario.
Mhm.
There was this guy I heard of a little bit ago. There's a guy works walks 10 to 15 miles to work every day. Walks another 10 to 15 miles to get home every day for work. He worked like Burger King, Hardee's, one of the fast food restaurants. He did this for 20 years. He found a way to work every day.
Mhm.
Everything is a situational depends on the
Mhm.
situation. Not one
Mhm.
situation is going to be completely copied from the next.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I like I said, there's certain people that are in prison right now that should never see the light of day. If you
Yeah. Well, point I was trying to make is that there's actually a better solution to going to jail. We used to use it all the time, and it wasn't fatal.
work
And
camps, chain gangs,
what? No.
cha-
And believe it or not, it actually turned around more people's lives than any other solution we've ever had. You get convicted of more than X amount of time. Your choice is prison or going into the military. If we just took away that choice and said, "Oh, you're going into the military," your reason for joining the military will be uh, secret, let's say, and you go in just like with the regular next group of young men and women to go into the military, and you can either make the best of it or end up in Leavenworth. Uh, you will you will 9 times out of 10 not only turn your life around but become a better class of person than you ever would have otherwise.
once again, I think that's a case by case scenario. I have an uncle that was basically given that offer, jail time or Vietnam. He chose Vietnam. After he got out, because he picked up such a heavy drug addiction while he was in the service, not bad enough to end up in military prison, but still bad enough
Mhm.
because, ladies and gentlemen, drugs are bad.
Vietnam was fucked up. Not gonna
Yeah.
lie. But if it
Uh,
happened right now, and we're not really, sending boys off into actual combat, and mind you, you've got to do your basic, before you go anywhere else. And by that point, they know what you're good at and what you're not good at. We have 5 different branches to choose from now. Back then, we didn't. Um, Actually, we have 6 branches, don't we? Uh, if they had a universal uh, boot, and then they decide which branch you go into from there, which would be a better system than what we have now. Um, I think not only would uh, we be less inclined to have people messing with us because they would then realize our entire military is made up of our criminals. Nobody would fuck with us, and we'd have a lot of people who would have a much structured path forward, becoming more useful to the country uh, as a whole.
there might be, I'm not going to.
Well,
There
here's
might
the thing:
very well be something to that.
case by case basis. But if you do something and you know it's wrong, you kind of gave up the right to a whole lot of choices. Even non-violent but still theft type crimes. You're taking from a whole lot of other people, whether you know it or not. You rob a bank, you rob a store, you're taking from more than just one person. You're taking from that whole family, and if they had a choice, they would take you out behind the back alley and be done with you. So giving them a choice to repay their actual debt, as opposed to make some prison owner wealthy, would be at least
Oh
a
yeah,
somewhat
I,
better.
I have a, I have a big problem with the fact that we privatize prisons. A CEO of a Fortune 500 should not be the one determining if a guy's done enough time in prison or not because he needs uh, 10 million, whatever license plates made by the end of the quarter.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, if we eliminated that whole uh, enterprise and put people to actual work, where they felt like they were, contributing and had a goal and a life path future ahead of them, that they could, stick to and make something of it or not. Because there are, what is it, 90% of the occupations in the military have nothing to do with combat whatsoever. There's support and you know logistics and things like that. Um, just
I've
saying.
had, I've had, and I'm quoting a friend of mine who actually served, older gentleman. I think he's roughly around your age,
Mhm.
my uncle's. And he's like, you know what makes the U.S. military one of the best nations in the world? And I'm like, because we got better guns. Was my smart ass answer. He's like, no, because it's volunteered. The moment you stop making it volunteer, you get North Korea, you get China, you get where their military Russia, where their military is not the best in the world because you're forcing people to die for things that they may or may not believe in.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, I don't know what. Even if I knew what the right answer is, I don't think anybody would listen to me anyways. So
no, no. Yeah, you don't want that. That's why you know when people have taken the law into their hands. Maybe we should actually make them pay back what they did. When they go in and just 3 hots in a cot and maybe making license plates, maybe doing nothing. That doesn't it doesn't do anybody any good.
yeah, I ever tell you my retirement plan? If I didn't have kids, Maggie changed my retirement plan. By the way,
I gather that.
yeah, my retirement plan was I was going to turn about 60. Depending on how my life was going, I was about 60, right? And I was going to go rob a federal bank without a gun. Here's the key factor in this: without a gun. And if you rob a federal bank, they send you to federal prison. And if you're a non-violent crime, you go to one of the nicer federal prisons. And then I have health insurance, dentist, eyes, all the health shit that I want. Hot 3 square meals a day. Granted, they might not be great, but food's food at the end of the day. It's better than starving. And a warm bed. Granted, I'd have somebody telling me what to do every day, but isn't that marriage? Wait, that's not nice.
Oh, I know about that.
So yeah, that was my retirement plan, and I'm glad I didn't do this either. My death plan though, I was joking around with my daughter. Well, my daughter is almost as tall as I am, and it bothers me just because I'm being weird. It's a weird dad thing, I guess. And depends on who you get married to, per. Um, my death plan is this. Well, I was joking with my daughter, and she's about as tall as I am, and I'm like, well, we're gonna have two options happening here soon. She's like, what's that? Either I'm gonna start feeding coffee to you through a IV to make sure you don't grow anymore, because we all know that's true. Or I'm just gonna bust your kneecaps so you stop growing. She's like, if you bust my kneecaps, I'll kill you. I'm like, well, if you do, I want two things. She's like, well, technically, yeah, two things. She's like, okay, what's your two things? I want my tombstone either say, here lies my name, day of birth, and underneath it, they have sometimes they'll have a saying like, whatever, may God be with you, or what. On tombstones, they have some kind of saying. I want mine to be one of two. Yeah, one of two. Either I like my eggs fluffy, or would you please bring me a cupcake? I want that on my tombstone. Because if you walk past a tombstone and you read if you're looking around, you read somebody's tombstone and it says, "Would you please bring me a cupcake?" You're gonna laugh. And in all the places we are in our life, if you're walking through a graveyard, 10 to 1, you're not that happy. You're kind of sad. But if you read something as stupid as "Please bring me a cupcake," you might smile. You might laugh. Your day might just get a tad bit better. I don't know.
That's fucking awesome, dude.
And you like that idea?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Second idea is if I die and my funeral is scheduled for a Saturday. Is the wake is Thursday. No, no wake, no wake. Even though I'm Irish, there's not going to be a wake.
You're getting one whether you like it or not. So
Right. Anyways, hear me out. So I die. I'm supposed to be in the ground on Saturday. I die. I want to be buried Thursday or Friday. Before. No one can know. No one can know other than me and the people who are putting me in the ground. So I'm in the ground. Everybody who's going to come visit the body or see the body, there's a old fashioned cowboy pine box get rolled out, and it's going to be open for a viewing. But my body's not going to be in it. You know what's going to be in it? Beer. Well, it's going to have ice, beer, wine, liquor, whatever your drink of choice, and on it says, uh, "Have one last drink on me." That's it. That's what I want my funeral to be. What do you think of that one?
yeah, that sounds like you.
I was listening to this guy do a speech, but he had like different actors say different words. It was all clipped together, right? So me just being me, I'm like, that's really fucking awesome. If I did this, when do I want to? I want to do this at the funeral. If I did have a body, and it would be Rolling Stones, Symphony of the Devil. Please allow me to introduce myself. Then you go to Alice in Chains. I'm the man in the box. Just those two lines clipped together. All right, what's there is a BBC article about a fellow who passed away. That is hilarious. Yeah, the problem with that is my family's too kind of uptight.
Get a new family. Oh, wait, sorry.
I do. Why do you think? Why do I think? Why do you think I call you and a few other people my brothers?
I know. Same here. Well, that and all mine passed away before you were born, and
I keep thinking of that line from House. Did you ever watch the TV show House?
I loved it.
The first episode, House is like you can live with dignity, but you can't die with dignity. It's always the same. It's always a mess. Yeah, it's always kind of stuck in my head. Oh, speaking of random shit, so drugs are bad. Let me start off with that. Drugs are bad unless
It's cool.
they are edible, and the state says you can have it because the federal government still says you can't have it. So on Wednesday night at the Cigar Lounge that I'm a member at, we do a trivia, and the guy who does it should have a fucking master's degree in everything and anything because he's fucking brilliant. Not one day of fucking college, and he's easily one of the smartest people I fucking know of his age. Anyways, I found it. Okay, I will. Anyway, so we're doing trivia, and one of the ladies shows up there, and she's like, "Well, okay, guys, I have two types of brownies. Brownies that you can eat here, and brownies you cannot eat here. You have to take home and not drive." And I'm like, "Okay." So I took two of the brownies. Well, I took three of the brownies. One of the brownies I ate there. The other two brownies I brought home with me. Gave one to somebody else, and she's like, and she told me these are really strong brownies, and I didn't really think about it. And so I made myself some dinner, sat down, ate it. I was playing video games, and without thinking, I grabbed the pot brownie, shoved it in my mouth, and ate it. I'm playing my video games. I'm playing my video games. I'm playing my video games. What am I doing? I should probably stop playing my video games. So I turn off my video game, start watching TV, and I'm watching TV, and I'm like, what am I doing? Watching TV. It'd probably be a good idea for me to go to bed. Yeah, it's a great idea. I'm going to bed. Okay, turn off the TV. How do we do that? Oh, right. Push this button, that button. Okay, TV's off. Okay, we should go to bed. Yeah, that's a great idea. What do you do to go to bed? Well, you need to stand up. Okay, we can stand up. Now what? Walk. You walk to your bed. How do you walk? So, after a few minutes of relearning how to walk, not because I hurt myself or because I live in a wheelchair, but because I was too fucking stoned to realize to put one foot after the other. I make it to bed. Well, I say make it to bed. It was more of a crawl than a drop on. It was just whatever. I was stoned, and turn over. I'm looking at the ceiling, and I'm fucking I'm gone. I mean, Cheech and Chong, layer of just gone. And keep in mind, I don't do pot. I don't like pot, but I also have night terrors, and it does help me sleep from time to time. And this was one of those occasions. I passed out. I'm dreaming. I'm dreaming. I'm having a good night's sleep. I wake up. I'm on a toilet. Why am I on a toilet? Well, okay. I go and grab some toilet paper and double check the oil and everything that goes along with that and flush the toilet. Then I go to bed. Still wondering why the fuck was I on a toilet? Well, if you don't, if there's a possible way to look at this one, I didn't shit or piss the bed because my stone ass realized, hey, I had to use the restroom. So the moral of the story is wear a diaper or whatever, but pot's bad. All right. Well, with that being said, and my ego went from wow, I have a massive ego to what the fuck did I just tell y'all guys? And I still remember how to walk. Um, yeah. everything in moderations. I'm going to call it here. For the people who watch the show, thank you. I will go find it. That sounds like a brilliant idea. That's about as good as putting a fart box underneath a judge's seat and pushing the button during the serious moments of court. I don't recommend it, but I think it would be hilarious as hell. That being said, I love you all. Well, some of you, maybe one of you. I don't know. You all figure it out. You all have a good night.
Happy trails, folks. Stay in school, kids.